Good Friday morning out there, everyone. I'm Toni Dunker, filling in for Brady Huck today as he's out managing some cows. You thought he was the only cowboy? Well, guess what? You've got a cowgirl that's coming to you live on Friday morning, April 25th. Toni Dunker, I'm over near the western side of Illinois, Quincy, Illinois area. It's a beautiful 68 degrees here this morning. Little wind, not bad, not like what we've been having. And guys are getting back in the field today, and we are rolling along. Good progress on the western side of the state. Um, we've actually got quite a bit to talk about this morning. It's kind of fun to get in here on days when we have some activity going on. Um, we're going to talk a little bit about soybean oil, and that's probably not something that you normally bring up or even think about looking at, but bean oil has been on fire. And I don't know if you know this or not, but we actually have a couple of in-house specialists that work in the energy markets. Joe Haroon and Adam Zedek both work in the energy markets and have done a tremendous job over the years. I know Joe's been with Advance at least 20 years, if not longer. He started out in our research department and then moved over and brought Adam on as a partner, and they work in the energy market sector. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. I'm just going to encourage you, if you have questions and you want to throw those out there, make sure that you type them in the comments or send us an email, give us a call. We're happy to visit with you about, any topic really, but on those energy markets, I probably will defer those questions over to Joe and Adam in particular. So give us a shout if you have a question. So let's first of all take a look at the markets, give you a rundown on what's happening here this morning since the market is open. May corn up 480 and a half. December corn down a quarter at 456 and a quarter. May beans down 3 at 1050 even. November beans up a quarter at 1035 and 3/4. We have July bean oil up 17 right now, 50.24. July soybean meal 296.30. That's down 40 cents. We have Chicago May wheat 530 and 3/4, up a penny and a half. The July is up a penny and 3/4 at 546 and a half. Kansas City wheat up a penny at 538 and 3/4, and the July Kansas City wheat up a penny at 551 and a half. I'm going to throw some D's cotton in there. We have a 7 handle back in front of that, 70.31. That's down 6. We have May feeders up 70, 289.77. November feeders are up 32, 287.75. We have June live cattle down 20 at 207.80. Octobers are down 12 at 201.95. June hogs back with a 1 handle in front of them at 100.55. That's up 62 today. Octobers are up 47 at 82.77. June crude oil down 22 at 62.57. July heating oil up just slightly at 208.64. We have the Dow trading about 200 points lower, 40.057. The S&P's down 5 at 55.04. We've got the NASDAQ down 10. These things are popping around really quick this morning. Down 10 at 19,307. The Russell Index down 17 at 1947. Bitcoin up 1,015 at 95,475. June gold down 57.20, 32.91.50. And silver also down 71 at 32.79. The dollar moving up again this morning, up 327.99, 49 and a half. So that's a quick rundown of what's going on in the marketplace. As I said earlier, we had July bean oil up, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that here in just a few minutes. But first of all, I want to throw up the fact that we had a phone call from Mexico this morning in there buying some corn. Private exporters reported at 8 a.m. sales of 235,000 metric tons of corn for the reporting period, and those are going to Mexico. Of the total, 130,000 metric tons is for delivery in the old crop and 105,000 metric tons for delivery in 25-26. So that gives you a little bit of a boost right off the get-go on some corn numbers there. Yesterday morning, we had the updated Drought Monitor put out, and we're showing some improvements, and I actually am using a slide that Ben Peters, one of our commercial brokers, put out yesterday morning, and I like this because he has circled in this the area of the drought monitor that is expecting to get some rains and has been getting some rains. So hopefully, as we tune in next week to look at this drought monitor, that we see some more improvement starting to take place. I know where I am located at over there on the western side of Illinois, we've definitely been sliding into that drought area, and it has improved a little bit over the last couple of weeks. So just we'll stay tuned on that and keep an eye on hopefully some improvement in some key growing areas of the Corn Belt. Up next, I want to turn and look at the cold storage report that was put out yesterday afternoon. Our friends at Steiner Consulting Group do a really nice overview when these reports come out. And Alton had updated a few slides that we have. And this is something that we can share with you individually if you have an interest in that. But just a few highlights from those: that the total supply of the 4 meat proteins is 3.3% lower than a year ago, and it's almost 10% lower than it was over the 5-year average. So that means that our meats that are in cold storage are tightening up. This is the lowest end of March inventory for proteins in cold storage since 2014. Pork in cold storage is almost 9% lower than last year, and total beef in cold storage is about 2% lower. Now, we've got some dynamics that are going on in that cold storage area, because we come back and we ask this question yet again: how many countries were front loading their exports, and did they draw that down? And what's going to happen going forward? I mean, we are very heavily reliant on exports in both beef and pork, and so that's something that could put a damper on what's going on in our meat markets. Not to say that it's happening yet, but somewhere down the road, we could start to see a buildup in this cold storage area, and that would lean on these meat markets for sure. With that in mind, you might throw up that LRP map, Rick, and I just want to talk a little bit about the opportunities that we're seeing right now. If you have cattle, if you have unborn calves, we've got the markets back up to a great place where you can be laying in just some floors so that you can have some downside protection. Also, back to the hog area, with that one handle back in front of those summer months, if you don't have enough hedges in place, if you don't have enough downside protection in place, for sure, reach out to us, and we're happy to visit with you about how LRP works. And it's a subsidized product that comes from the government. On 100% coverage, you can get a 35% subsidy from the government. So something to keep in mind as we move forward with these great pricing opportunities that we have on the livestock side right now. Moving ahead, there's a few other things that are happening in the marketplace right now that you may not have noticed. And as I mentioned earlier, I want to talk a little bit about July bean oil. July bean oil is on fire, making highs for the last year overnight last night. So what's behind all of this and what's going on there? Well, I'm not an energy expert by any means, but I will tell you that that is for sure one of the areas that has a real emphasis on what the price of beans are doing. Optimism is the main driver behind this recent rally, whether from tariff or trade war talks or the potential RVO announcement. While the U.S. and China dialogue seems far away from brokering a trade deal, clarity for renewable industry will be welcome. And I don't think it's just in bean oil and beans. I think it would also be welcome on the corn side as well. So that's one of those outlier things maybe we don't always keep at the forefront of our mind, of what could trigger this market to rally when we least expect it to do. So something to keep in mind. If soybean oil continues this rally, beans should stay well supported to the point where we're watching that weather and what's going on with planting progress. And, you know, if we plant this crop quickly, that means there is a chance that we could put more corn acres in. So that's something to kind of keep in mind. Now, I mentioned RVO and what that is. I don't know about you, but I'm not dialed in quite every day on what's going on the renewable fuels side. So I just wanted to share with you RVO, Renewable Volume Obligation. That's basically the calculated value that represents the cents per gallon cost to an obligated party of complying with the renewable fuel standard. That stuff is traded out there, and I know Joe and Adam stay on top of that, and they are all dialed in on what's going on in the energy markets. So for sure, if you have questions in that arena, make sure that you reach out to us and we'll pass them along to Joe and Adam. There's another background trade that I wanted to talk about a little bit, and I know it's something I'm watching with close interest right now, but it is the May-July corn spread and what's going on with that May-July. And basically, the difference between the May and July is getting smaller. And so it's giving you less incentive to keep corn in the bin. And we will approach first notice day, that's next week on May futures. That means that if you have a May HTA at the elevator, you're going to need to be either setting the basis on that or rolling it forward to the July. And as that difference between the May and the July comes together, it gives you less incentive to hold that corn off of the market. Now, in the past couple of days, we've seen some improvement on what the price of corn is at the Gulf. We've seen some changes in barge freight and what's going on there along the river system, and that will all come into play in what your cash corn price is. So those are things that you as a producer need to be watching, even though you're busy in the tractor right now and you have other things on your mind. We could get presented with some opportunities to make some cash sales on corn for corn that's coming out of the bin. And so right now is a time frame that you need to be talking to your local cash grain buyer and finding out what type of opportunity you have, and is there really enough carry incentive for you to keep that corn in the bin or not. Those are all parts of that marketing plan. We're happy to help you with that, and we can help you take a look and see where your dollars are best spent. Keep that corn in the bin or sell the corn off and maybe come back in and buy a July call. I know we've also had a great incentive here locally to get our cash beans, the rest of the cash beans, moved out of the bin. Basis levels we haven't seen in quite some time into a processor. And so that's giving us an opportunity to get more cash beans sold, better than 1050. Yesterday, we were showing cash bids that were 1060 in our area. And so for us, it's a great time to be getting some more beans sold, whether it's for May or June delivery, even some nearby beans. And then we were coming back in and buying some call options just to keep that upside open. You just never know what's going to make this market turn and run. And obviously, beans have been kind of the leader the past few days. So that's something to take a look at. I think the May-July corn spread, that is all a function of what the delivery market is telling us it wants us to do. And when we get deep in the weeds on marketing, that comes to the merchandising side. And I will say that I've been here at Advance almost 25 years now. And I'll tell you, one of the big reasons that I came to this company was because of the experts that we have in the Bloomington office that are dealing with merchandising every day. And, I studied that for years. I studied it while I was in college. And I will tell you that there is truly an art to merchandising. And I think our commercial brokers in Bloomington have that art figured out. So reach out, let us know what your questions are, and we will be happy to help you. Well, with all of that said, I think we will get this wrapped up. I'll take a look over here and see if we've got any comments. Rick is telling me, the driver back there behind the screen for me today is telling me that we've got some comments. And Luke says, most of our beans ended up at ADM Kershaw, which they are closing. How much of a push higher in beans do you think it would take for them to reconsider? I'm thinking that you want to say reopen that facility. And, I can't give you an exact number, Luke, but I feel like we're going to see some changes in our industry. Um, I feel like also with the bean oil demand and the renewable fuel side of things, we're going to see some changing dynamics. I'm not familiar with ADM Kershaw myself, so I might reach out and visit with a couple of the commercial guys. They would probably have a better idea on this. But what I do know is um, we're going to see a change in the dynamics in our refining industry with the new refining capacity that's coming online, and it's a lot like what's going on in the beef slaughter industry. We have older plants that are getting replaced with newer plants, so we're actually taking some of that um, ability to harvest products, whether it's our beans or beef, and we're taking that offline. So it's going to be an interesting time to watch that. I'm going to pass that question along, Luke, to someone else that's probably going to be better. And he followed up and said, I've already heard of some growers swapping beans for more corn as a result, mainly as a result of transportation and basis after ADM announced that closing. That doesn't surprise me any. I mean, you've got to be watching your local markets to find out what the demand is like. I mean, we can grow products a lot of places in the United States, but if you don't have a market for it, then it's not going to do you any good to be a great producer and grow those products if you have to haul it off a long ways to get it to a marketplace. And then you've got to deal with that transportation cost. So those are great comments, Luke. I appreciate those. If you have any other comments, make sure you share them, and we will try to get you an answer if I can't help you out today. So with all of that said, I want to wish you a very happy weekend. It's Friday, y'all, so let's enjoy it. I know everyone's hopefully going to get back into the tractor, and we're going to be able to take a run down through the fields and get this work lined out. I myself, yep, I'm going to be probably jumping on a horse somewhere, but this is Cowgirl Toni just telling you have a great weekend, and Brady will be back in the chair on Monday morning. You'll be relieved to hear his comments. Thanks a lot.